Disclaimer: the stories shared on this channel may be purely fictional. Or are they? As you surrender to these chilling tales, be warned, the shadows hold secrets. Now, are you ready to explore the shadows? When I was 37, I attended my high school reunion. After flying into the nearest airport, I rented a car for the 35-mile drive through a rural and nearly deserted area. About 3 miles from town, I saw someone flagging me down on the side of the road. To my surprise, it was Jim, an old schoolmate. Although I hadn't seen him in 20 years, he looked the same, just a bit older. He got in the car, and we started catching up. As we approached town, I suggested we go to the VFW for a drink. Jim declined and asked to be taken home instead. His parents had lived near my grandmother's house, so I headed in that direction, but he directed me to the outskirts of town. There was a mobile home park there, and I assumed he lived nearby. When we reached the turnoff, he asked to be dropped off, said, "It was good to see you again," and walked off into the night. Later, at the VFW, I met up with some of my old classmates. We were discussing who would be attending the reunion, and I mentioned picking Jim up 3 miles east of town and dropping him off. The room fell silent. Even the karaoke singer stopped and put down the microphone. My cousin's face turned as white as a new t-shirt. "Bart," he said, "Jim died on that curve 8 years ago. He rolled his car. We were all at his funeral." When I was 16, I embarked on a cross-country road trip with my mother and 20-year-old sister. It was late at night, but we were still alert and well-rested. Driving along an interstate, we needed gas and a bathroom break, so we pulled into the only rest stop within 200 miles. At the gas station, a van filled with teenagers on a road trip caught our attention, along with a small gray car parked at the pump ahead of us, where 2 young men stood motionless outside. Something felt off as soon as we arrived. Despite having visited numerous rest stops at night during our journey without incident, this one gave us an uneasy feeling. While my mother and sister went inside, I stayed in the car. I overheard the teenagers expressing discomfort and leaving quickly after struggling to get the gas pump to work. Meanwhile, the 2 men by the gray car remained completely still, not speaking or using their phones. They seemed frozen, their eerie stillness unsettling. When my sister and mother returned to the car in a rush, the 2 men slowly turned to look at us without moving their bodies. It was then that we all noticed something unnerving. Their eyes were unnaturally dark and empty, devoid of any light or reflection, like hollow voids. We hastily drove away and didn't stop until we reached the next city. Strangely, we couldn't locate the rest stop on any map afterward. Despite knowing the exact spot on the interstate, neither Google Maps nor any paper map showed its existence. Even inquiries with locals about the mysterious gas station yielded only puzzled responses. Since then, traveling on that interstate, we have never come across that rest stop again. Growing up, our family home had a unique history. It used to be an old funeral home dating back over a century. And let me tell you, it definitely had its eerie moments. During college breaks, when I returned home, I occasionally experienced sleep paralysis. I'd wake up, completely unable to move, only to see this faint figure of a girl with a dark headband standing beside my bed, staring right at me. Her pale face was ghostly white, framed by a dark headband, but her eyes were hidden in the shadows. Let me tell you, it sent chills down my spine. To add to the suspense, my dog, who usually slept with me, would randomly wake up in the dead of night, barking at shadows in my room and acting all spooked. After one particularly unsettling episode of sleep paralysis, I ended up bunking in my mom's bed for the remainder of that Christmas break, just to feel safe. When my husband, then boyfriend, and I had just started dating, a somber event unfolded, the passing of one of his relatives. Given our differing religious backgrounds, I was taken aback to see his family scattering powder on the ground. He calmly explained that this ritual would reveal the footsteps of the departed. I didn't dwell on it much at the time, but the next morning, I awoke to find distinct footprints imprinted in the powder. It was a chilling sight that shook me to the core. I had to press my husband to solemnly swear it wasn't a prank. Even now, nearly a decade later, the memory remains vivid and haunting, etched into my mind. In Tokyo, our whole flight crew stayed at a hotel known for being creepy. When I got to my room, I felt a weird vibe, but I thought it was just tiredness. That night, I chose the bed near the door and left the TV on for light and noise. In the middle of the night, I woke up in silence and darkness facing the door. I had a strange feeling someone was on the other bed. I turned on the light and saw a girl sitting upright. I screamed, and she suddenly turned her head 90 degrees, screaming with me. I ran out of the room in fear and stayed with another crew member for the rest of the trip. But that's not all. Later, while showering, I felt a sting on my back and found a scratch mark there, adding to the eerie experience. Late at night, between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., I started hearing 3 loud knocks on my apartment door. Every time I checked through the peephole, there was no one there. This went on for several nights, making me increasingly uneasy. After enduring these strange knocks for days, I decided to take action. One night, when the knocking woke me up again, I quickly grabbed my phone and recorded a video of my door. When I watched the video, it showed an empty hallway, but to my surprise, faint laughter could be heard in the background. The eerie laughter sent a shiver down my spine. I paused the video to check something, but as I stared at the screen, the video was not playing. The laughter continued, echoing faintly in my room. Thank you for watching and immersing yourself in the chilling world of horror. To never miss a spine-tingling story, make sure to subscribe and join us on this terrifying journey. More nightmares await, so stay tuned for the darkness that awaits. Until next time, embrace the fear.